Let me ask you something real quick. Think about everyone you grew up with, your cousins, your old college roommates, the friends you used to hang out with every weekend. Now ask yourself, how many of them are genuinely building wealth right now? Not just surviving, not just keeping the lights on, but actually stacking assets, growing their net worth, moving toward real financial freedom. If you're being brutally honest, the answer is probably not many. Maybe one or two, maybe none. And here's the thing that should bother you. Most of those people are smart. They went to school, they got jobs. Some of them got good jobs. They're not lazy, they're not stupid, they work hard. And yet, by the time 40 rolls around, the majority of them will have almost nothing to show for 2 full decades of income. That's not an opinion. That's a statistical reality, and we're going to get into the exact numbers in just a second. But before we do, I want you to think about why that is. Because your first instinct is probably to blame income, right? Oh, they just didn't make enough money. And I'm going to challenge that assumption today hard. Because the dirty little secret that nobody in the personal finance world wants to say out loud is that income is almost never the real reason people fail to build wealth. The real reason is something way more uncomfortable. And honestly, once you see it, you can't unsee it. My name is Tate, and I break down the money strategies, wealth building principles, and financial blind spots that the school system never taught us. If you're tired of feeling like you're working your whole life and somehow getting nowhere financially, Andy, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button if this kind of content actually helps you think differently about money. Today we're going deep on why most people never build meaningful wealth by the time they hit 40, and more importantly, what the ones who do actually have in common. By the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different mental model for how wealth is created, and you're going to know exactly which habits are either building or destroying your financial future right now. Let's get into it. Here's what most people don't realize about wealth in America. We talk about it constantly, in the news, on social media, in political debates, but most people have a wildly distorted picture of where the average person actually stands. So let me hit you with some numbers that are going to feel uncomfortable. And the median net worth of Americans between the ages of 35 and 44, so right around that 40-year mark, is approximately $91,000. Sounds okay on the surface, right? But here's where it gets ugly. That number is heavily skewed by a small percentage of high earners. If you strip out home equity, meaning the value people have built in their house, the median financial net worth drops dramatically. We're talking about people who have spent 20 years in the workforce and have essentially nothing in investable assets. And before you say, well, that's just lower income people pulling the average down, I want you to really sit with this. Studies consistently show that even people earning 6 figures struggle to build wealth. A significant percentage of households earning between $100,000 and $150,000 per year report living paycheck to paycheck. People making more money in a single year than their parents made in 3 years. Still broke, still stressed about money, still one layoff away from a financial crisis. The reality is this isn't an income problem for most people. It's a wealth building problem. And there's a massive difference between those two things. Income is what flows into your bank account. Wealth is what stays and compounds. You can have a river running through your property and still die of thirst if there's a hole at the bottom of your bucket. And the consequences of getting this wrong are severe. If you hit 40 with minimal assets, you have about 25 working years left before traditional retirement age. Social Security, not if it even exists in its current form, replaces maybe 40% of your pre-retirement income for the average worker. The math gets brutal fast. You're essentially trying to build a financial foundation in your 40s and 50s that you should have been building since your 20s, and you're doing it with less energy, potentially higher expenses, and way less time for compound interest to do its thing. This is why understanding what's actually going wrong matters right now, not in 5 years, now. But here's where it gets interesting, because when you actually look at the research on why people fail to build wealth, the answers are not what most finance gurus will tell you. You're not going to hear me say, stop buying coffee. That's not the problem. The problem runs much deeper than spending habits. And it has everything to do with a concept I call the wealth illusion. Think about what we're trained to want from the time we're kids: nice house, new car, good vacations, name brand clothes, the latest phone. None of these things are inherently bad. But here's what nobody explains to you. Our entire consumer culture is specifically engineered to make sure that every time your income goes up, your spending goes up right along with it. There's actually a name for this phenomenon: lifestyle inflation, and it is silently the single biggest destroyer of wealth among middle-class earners. Here's a concrete example. Let's say you're 25, making $45,000 a year. You're a little tight, but you're managing. Then at 28, you get a promotion. You're now making $65,000. Amazing, right? So what happens? You upgrade your apartment. You get a nicer car because, hey, you can afford the payment now. You eat out more. You upgrade your wardrobe. You take a better vacation. By the time you're done, you've absorbed that entire $20,000 raise into your lifestyle, and your savings rate is exactly what it was before. Essentially, zero. Now multiply that pattern across 3 or 4 income increases over 15 years. You could go from $45,000 to $120,000 and still have nothing to show for it except nicer stuff that's worth a fraction of what you paid for it. That's not a hypothetical. That is the actual financial biography of millions of people in this country. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about debt? Isn't that the real issue? And yes, absolutely. Debt plays a massive role, but it's a symptom, not the root cause. The root cause is that most people never develop what I'd call a wealth identity. They see themselves as earners and consumers, not builders, not investors. The mental shift from how do I afford this to how does this purchase affect my ability to build assets? That shift just never happens for most people. And the financial industry loves this, by the way. Banks make money when you carry balances. Car companies make money when you lease or finance. Mortgage lenders make money when you buy more house than you need. Retailers make money when you fill your emotional voids with purchases. There is an entire ecosystem of businesses whose profitability depends on you staying financially stuck. I don't say this to be cynical. I say this because awareness is the first step to opting out. Here's the part that might actually blow your mind. And this is where the math gets really painful in a really useful way. Let's talk about what it actually costs to delay investing. Most people know, in a vague, abstract way, that investing early matters. But I don't think most people have truly internalized the numbers, so let's make it real. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 22, and you earn an average annual return of 8%, which is conservative. Historically, the S&P 500 has averaged closer to 10%. By the time you're 40, you have roughly $270,000. By 65, you're sitting on over $2 million. That's $500 a month. That's a gym membership, a Netflix account, and going out to eat a few times a month. The cost of wealth building at 22 is genuinely small. Now let's say you wait until 30 to start. Same $500 a month, same 8% return. By 40, you've got around $90,000. By 65, about $870,000. Still good, but you've lost over $1.1 million in wealth by waiting 8 years. 8 years. The cost of waiting isn't linear. It's exponential. Every decade you delay doesn't just cost you 10 years of growth. It costs you the compounding on top of compounding on top of compounding that those early years would have produced. And most people don't start at 22 or 30. They start thinking seriously about investing somewhere around 38, 40, maybe when they have a slight existential crisis after a birthday ending in 0, which means they're starting the race when other people are already halfway done. That's not unsolvable, but it does require a completely different level of intensity and intentionality than just casually tossing money into a 401k when you feel like it. So here's what this actually means when you put it all together, and this is the revelation I want you to sit with. The reason most people fail to build wealth by 40 isn't bad luck. It isn't low income for the majority of people. It's not that the system is impossible to beat, although it certainly isn't designed to help you. The real reason is that wealth requires a fundamentally different relationship with money than the one most of us were taught to have. And that relationship has to be actively built, almost in opposition to everything our culture tells us to do with money. Think about someone like Marcus. Composite example, but completely realistic. Marcus grew up middle class, got a business degree, landed a solid job at 23 making $55,000. Over 17 years with promotions and job changes, he worked his way up to $130,000 a year. By any measure, Marcus is successful. His friends respect him. He drives a nice car. He lives in a great neighborhood. He's taken his family to Europe twice. Marcus is 40 years old and has $47,000 in his 401k, and $8,000 in savings. How? Because every single time Marcus's income went up, his life got more expensive. The car payment grew with the salary, the house got bigger, the vacations got nicer, the private school tuition started. And because he always felt like he was doing okay, because the lifestyle felt like evidence of success, he never felt the urgency to actually build. He confused looking wealthy with being wealthy. And those two things are not the same thing. They are, in many ways, complete opposites. The people who actually build wealth by 40 don't look that different from Marcus on paper. But they made a different choice at the identity level. They decided early that their savings rate mattered more than their spending appearance. They automated their investing before lifestyle inflation could absorb their raises. They drove the car that was paid off instead of the one that projected success. They played a different game entirely, and the scoreboard for that game doesn't show up on Instagram. So let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this, because I don't want you leaving here just feeling bad about past decisions. That doesn't help anyone. The first thing you need to do is calculate your actual savings rate right now. Not what you think it is, what it actually is. Take what you're investing or saving every month, divide it by your gross income, and get that number. If it's below 15%, you have work to do. If it's below 10%, you have urgent work to do. Second, the next time you get a raise, any raise, commit to capturing at least 50% of that raise in additional savings or investments before your lifestyle absorbs it. This one move alone, applied consistently over a career, is wealth changing. Third, audit what you actually own versus what you owe. Your net worth is the only number that matters for building wealth, not your salary, not your credit score. What do you own minus what you owe? Track that number monthly. What gets measured gets managed. Fourth, open a brokerage account if you don't have one, and automate a contribution to a low-cost index fund. Remove the decision from the equation. Automation is the single best antidote to the psychological forces working against your wealth building. And fifth, maybe most importantly, redefine what financial success looks like to you. Not to your neighbors, not to your social media followers, not to your parents, to you. What does actual freedom feel like? What does sleeping well at night because you have real assets behind you feel like? Hold that picture. Let that be what drives your decisions, not the temporary dopamine hit of a purchase you'll forget about in 3 months. Building wealth by 40 is not about being perfect. It's not about never buying anything nice or never enjoying your money. It's about making sure that the version of you 10 and 20 years from now is genuinely better off because of the choices the current you's making today. The best time to start was the day you got your first paycheck. The second best time is right now. If this video shifted something for you, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content who need to hear it. Subscribe if you want to keep building this financial foundation together. And drop a comment below. What's the one money habit you're committing to change after watching this? I read every single one. The wealth you want is absolutely buildable, but nobody is coming to hand it to you. It's built decision by decision, month by month, year by year, and it starts now.